Hey YouTube, Alex here. Today's video I wanted to cover the thermostat probe placement when using a ProProducts radiant heat panel. ProProducts doesn't have a very, open set of guidelines as far as how to regulate a radiant heat panel as a heat source, at least their radiant heat panel compared to some of the other brands. But from what I've seen, ProProducts is hands down the best as far as what keepers recommend. Some of the other cheaper brands are not as reliable. I can tell you as far as customer service went, I was on the phone with Bob at ProProducts for probably a good half an hour when I ordered this heat panel. You tell him the species of animal you're keeping, the size of the enclosure, the type of room that it's in, how warm that room is, and he factors all of that in to find the exact panel for your enclosure. What I personally couldn't find, and hence why I'm making this video, is setting up your thermostat probe correctly with a ProProducts radiant heat panel. And so there are a couple videos of people doing it, most notably Zach Nava of Nava Reptiles. He's got a really good video. And then I don't know the guy's name, but Mostly Snakes. He's got a video on how he chooses to set his thermostat probes up with his ProProducts radiant heat panel. From what I understood watching the Mostly Snakes videos, that Bob said that works. However, the method that I'm going to show you guys is what Bob at ProProducts suggested to me, and after some analysis and understanding, I hope that this methodology makes sense to you as much as it does to me. So right here, you're getting a nice shot. You can see my albino corn snake chilling out in his high hide, checking out the camera. But if you look all the way over here, this is my thermostat probe. And that is a Herpstat 1. If you guys follow my channel, you know that I swear by the Spider Robotics products. No matter what thermostat you use, the key with the ProProducts methodology as far as regulating your temperatures is by having the probe on the cool side. I'm going to use Chili here as an example because he's a corn snake. Corn snakes like a cold side temperature of 72 to 78 degrees. So what I've done is I have set my thermostat to 75.7 degrees Fahrenheit. The idea is that the heat panel will turn on and off to regulate the air temperature in the cage. So you see how my probe is dangling. I have it in the shade, so it's monitoring the ambient air temperature. That means on this half of the cage, at least right there, Chili always has access to a spot that is 75.7. My room is currently 78 degrees Fahrenheit. It's really hot today, and it usually is because I'm filming this in the summer. So his heat panel isn't even on right now. And that's because if I were to have the thermostat probe under the heat panel, it would ensure that the heat panel is always turning on and off to keep his hot spot at 85. Say that's typical corn snake. Now that's not a bad thing to always make sure he has a hot spot of 85. Here's the issue. If the heat panel was turning on and off all the time to keep the hotspot at 85, this area might be 82 since my room is 78. Whereas instead, I now know that since my room is super warm, his heat sources aren't on, and he's gonna stay at ambient temperature till the room cools off at night. And then, since Chili, he's a corn snake, he's a crepuscular species, the heat panel will be on as my room gets cooler, to make sure that his spot stays at 75 when my room might drop down to 72. By dusk, his hot spot, where the heat panel is on the other side of the cage, will be 85 degrees. Some of you guys might be thinking, how do you test that? Use your temperature gun. You know, I can point and click this anywhere, and it gives me my little digital readout. So the point is, with the ProProducts method, it's more or less a way of ensuring that your snake never overheats. Your snake will always have access to an area that is X temperature. In the case of Chili, again, I've got my stat set to 75.7. I'm looking at the stat on top of his cage right now, and it's reading at 79 degrees because it makes sense. It's a hot day in the room. It's 78 outside, probably a little bit warmer inside his enclosure. Therefore, his heat panel does not need to be on. And then come nightfall, when the room drops, he will have access to that hot spot. That way, with this method, I'm ensuring from a safety perspective of my animal that he is not at any risk of overheating. If you're not a fan of this method, you don't have to yell at me in the comments. Use Zach Nava's method, where he uses the clothes hanger to Get the temperature right below the radiant heat panel. Use mostly Snake's method where he has it on the ground below the heat panel. There are so many different methods out there, and I haven't seen a video on this one, and this method personally works best for me. I sometimes think in the reptile community, especially online, you get a lot of keyboard warriors who like to fight that their way is the right way. I'm not saying that this is the right way. I'm just sharing another method of how to set up a thermostat probe for a ProProducts radiant heat panel. If you want to yell at me and be a degenerate in the comments, be my guest. I'll block you from the channel because I really don't have time for your shit. However, just trying to show you guys some of the other options out there. So if you like this method to ensure that your snakes don't overheat, ta-da, there you have it. That's the ProProducts method. Heat panel going on and off on one side to get your hot spot of however you want it on the shelf on your driftwood. And your cold side always stays the consistent temperature thanks to your thermostat, which in my case, I'm using a Herpstat 1. That's all there is to it. Leave a comment if you found this video helpful, and tell me in the comments how you set up your radiant heat panels, or maybe another method that I haven't heard about, because the more information we throw out onto YouTube, the more helpful it'll be for the people that are coming into the reptile hobby, or people like me who are always trying to learn something new and improve my care even after 10 years of keeping reptiles. So, I'm Alex, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.